The great whistleblower Edward Snowden claimed that the deep state cabal has embedded China's surveillance state into Western culture. You were every photo, every purchase, every message, every movement, all of it was being fed into algorithms that decided your future. Meanwhile, Trump was correcting the problem even before it was made public. Just in this last week, he has restored the 1776 Constitution, installed common law, activated the gold standard into worldwide currencies that valued at a 1-to-1 to each other, and then order the Epstein files to be released that were bound to blow open workings. Mr. P also published that the Doge investigation has also produced evidence that dues were used in 9/11 caused Maui, Louisiana, and Northern California fires plus man-made floods, and hurricanes were used to destroy North Carolina and Georgia, Florida, all of which were done to clear the land for cabal takeover and to build smart cities. In the last 4 years, $18. $5 billion has been sent from USAID to be laundered through DA Afghanistan Bank and given to terrorist states located in the Middle East. Another $1.3 billion has been paid to terrorist organizations around the world. USET is given $500 million through secret NGO to Intern News Network, which is basically a training ground for journalists across the world to train them how push government propaganda. 4,291 networks involved and 9,000 trained journalists across the globe. Another over $33 million was paid out by USA to promote a leftist agenda in the press. The World Economic Forum, run by the deep state cabal, received $68 million from USD, that there has been $2.7 trillion in improper payments made to Medicare, Medicaid, and overseas organizations. Or Event 201, reference to the Johns Hopkins Center tabletop exercise with the World Economic Forum and the Gates Foundation. Social Security fraud payments, $100 million has been paid annually to individuals who don't even have Social Security numbers. There was $600 million paid out every 2 months to facilitate illegal immigration. In addition, $59 million was paid out yearly to house illegals in a fancy NY hotel. You said paid out over $150 billion to promote climate change, which has been proven to not exist. The U.S. Army diverted over $151 million meant for soldiers' food, according to the Military Times. No one seems to know where the money went. Trump's Operation Hammer was about to be made public. It involved the White Hats military, which was in the middle of making arrests on over 700,000 sealed indictments, has been holding thousands of JAG military tribunals and executing those who have committed treason. Rudy Giuliani asked for your help. Asking for help has never been my strong suit, but today I'm asking that you spare just a minute of your time to understand my situation. Of all the things the deep state did to me, raiding my home, arresting me, holding me in the most violent jail in America, pushing me to the brink of bankruptcy, the worst thing they did was disbar me. As the Bible says, earthly possessions will always fade. Money comes and goes, but there are greater priceless treasures. You see, I used my law license to defend the innocent, to take down bad guys, and to uphold our Constitution. Truth be told, I didn't make much money with my law license, but I did make a difference. It was my legacy of justice, and it's worth more than gold. And the left has stolen that from me. Not only that, but I can no longer use my law license to defend myself from the Democrats' lawfare. Right now, I am facing a deadline on November 21st that will determine whether the Democrats' last remaining rigged trial against me proceeds or is thrown out for good. And because it's in state court, the president cannot save me with a federal pardon, left with no means to defend myself. No way to be pardoned by President Trump for state level charges and no money for a top notch legal defense team. I'm running out of options. But deadline be damned, I will fight for my freedom until the very end. That's why I'm making a final plea to humbly ask that you contribute whatever amount you can to my legal defense trust. You truly are my final hope. Please make a contribution to the Rudy Giuliani Freedom Fund before the 11/21 trial deadline so that I can keep fighting to ensure my trial is dropped. B. What we think we know as of Wednesday, 19th of November 2025. President Trump visited by Jesus, given message about the nation, saw Jesus twice in one night, and his words made Trump cry all night. Jonathan Romy, who plays Jesus in The Chosen, visited by Jesus, given a message for us. If you see this before November ends, you've been marked by heaven. Don't ignore it. Romy, God's timing is never random. Every trial, every moment of doubt is shaping your divine purpose. If you see this video before November ends, you've been marked by heaven. You are chosen for a reason. When heaven marks you, no force on earth can erase your calling. Leave the children alone. X on twos. Morning, November 18th, 2025. The deep state cabal initiated a cyber attack across the globe that was quickly taken care of by the new Starlink's Cloudflare, and millions of other websites were under attack. After the Tuesday morning, November 18th, 2025 worldwide deep state cabal cyber attack that was quickly taken care of by the Starlink satellite system. The White Hats deploy EBS broadcasts in 10 days of darkness worldwide, followed by evidence exposure of Pizzagate networks and child trafficking operations embedded in humanitarian agencies. November 18th, 2025, breaking Texas Governor Greg Abbott designates Muslim Brotherhood and CARE as terrorist and criminal organizations. Protecting our people comes first. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. GMO files exposed Obama and Biden's $7 billion shell scheme, the largest taxpayer heist in U.S. history. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Obama exposed the biggest cover-up in American history. He put a target on SEAL Team 6 to hide his own lies and corruption. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Classified top-secret high-level intel. How Hillary Clinton sold America out and Obama ordered the cover-up to save himself. Malik Obama has released his brother Barack Obama's Kenyan birth certificate, proving that Obama was an illegal U.S. president. Military law under Jazara has confirmed that 57 deep state banks have closed. Troops deployed in the new Starlink satellite system has been unreachable. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. ICE is now conducting raids on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. Dozens of Trendaragua gang members were just apprehended and more raids are expected. You cannot hide from ICE, even on an island thousands of miles from the U.S. mainland. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Exposed Clintons refused to testify as Trump unseals Epstein flight logs, intelligence briefings, and White House visitor records, linking them to global blackmail and trafficking rings. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Full disclosure coming. Trump orders Epstein files released. We have nothing to hide. November 18th, 2025, Washington, D.C. See possible timing of restored republic via GCR duty. Note the below is a compilation of various sources' opinions on the rollout of the restored republic and new global financial system. Please treat as rumor as the intel changes daily, sometimes hourly, or by the minute. Plus, only a select one or two are authorized to expose the exact timing. On Thursday, November 20th, 2025, Nisar Jazara Frameworks enforced debt forgiveness and redistributing trillions in seized cabal assets directly into sovereign QFS accounts. Judy note, is this Zim holder redemption? The wealth redistribution triggering the largest transfer of stolen funds back to citizens. Deep state trader face total collapse as their arrests escalate. Political figures, including former cabinet members arrested in Washington, D.C. under expanded RICO indictments. White hats raid Vatican and Epstein-linked tunnels, rescuing millions of children and seizing final cabal servers. Gitmo expansion processes 250 plus VIP traders, including bankers and politicians, with daily executions broadcast via the EBS. The White Hats will secure pardons for patriots like Giuliani and Meadows, positioning them to dismantle remaining regime elements and avert satanic escalations through BRICS nations' interventions. On Saturday, the 22nd of November 2025, the cabal's fiat currency SWIFT system expires and the RVGCR launches. The Iraqi dinar leads the Ravel Zemet parity. Dong follows under BRICS gold integration. On that same Saturday, November 22nd, 2022, Gitmo tribunals launch bioweapon deployment. Coordinated tribunals at Gitmo targeting adrenochrome harvesters within Vatican-linked tunnels. November 25th, 2025, redemption centers open nationwide. Tier 4B notification. U.S., the Internet Group, who hold foreign currencies and Zim bonds, will be sent out to set exchange redemption appointments. The military and Starlink satellite system will be protecting exchanges. The military alliance will be processing claims against deep state fraud while blocking elite escape routes and converting seized assets into medbed infrastructure. Royal family members who were detained in secure locations were expected to disclose centuries-old bloodline secrets. Thursday, November 27th, 2025, Thanksgiving. Trump makes restored republic and worldwide gold standard announcements. On Friday, November 28th, 2025, media muggles already indicted for propaganda crimes would have their per-you-walks broadcast via decentralized networks. Sunday, 30th of November 2025, White Hats intend to dismantle the remaining child trafficking enclaves in Ukraine and LA tunnels. The Putin-Trump alliance will execute precision strikes on satellite control grids. Late November 2025, Gitmo expands to overflow facilities in Alaska and Diego Garcia, processing non-stop tribunals for Hollywood and Silicon Valley elites. In December 2025, the storm peaks with full collapse of the fiat system. Fed goes dark. Gitmo tribunals broadcast via EBS. Executions of deep state leaders confirmed. Starting Monday, December 1st, 2025, Anzaris Jazar activates through Trump's tariff payments, wiping out the national debt and distributing $2,000 directly to Americans via the QFS. On Friday, December 5th, 2025, corporate tycoons will be escorted to their military tribunals unveiling suppressed energy technologies in open court Wednesday, 10th of December, 2025. BRICS nations finalize gold-backed currency integration, accelerating global de-dollarization, and enforcing VIP arrests under Jazzar law with QFS blockchain security. Monday, December 15th, 2025, VIP arrests commence in Europe, targeting globalist leaders in Brussels and London for financial fraud exposures. Deep state traders funnel into expanded Gitmo wings for military tribunals, exposing adrenochrome and trafficking rings with 2,900 confirmed executions across 71 nations. VIP arrests commence in Europe, targeting globalist leaders in Brussels and London for financial fraud exposures. Sunday, 9th of November 2025, all banks worldwide sent memo to change to digital ISO 2002 gold asset-backed currency by Saturday, 15th of November 2025. On Wednesday, 12th of November 2025, Trump signed the NISRA bill restoring the 1776 constitutional governance, establishing the gold standard for currency and initiating debt forgiveness nationwide. Then the deep state collapsed when Trump forced the Federal Reserve to print $1.5 trillion, flooding the economy and initiating a global order rewrite with BRICS nation stabilizing multipolar currencies. On Thursday, November 13th, 2025, quantum financial system rollout synchronization completed across U.S. departments, enabling full activation of the gold-backed quantum financial system and dismantling elite-controlled banking circuits. $150 trillion in prosperity funds were unlocked, the direct deposits to end 161 years of hidden debt. E2S18 2025 GCR rollout. Q on Telegram, November 2025 onward. Fiat monetary reset endures centuries, with dollar reserve status fading by 2026, empowering multipolar economic sovereignty. Global M2 contraction accelerates, dropping inflation floors and priming K expansion as central banks replenish reserves via revaluation. Saturday, 15th of November 2025, quantum financial system activates gold peg settlements, severing deep state banking ties and preloading Tier 4 B codes for Patriot redemptions. Sunday, 16th of November 2025, Patriot assets secure and QFS wallets, shielding from fiat collapse as Trump master plan reveals wealth migration to digital scarcity. Monday, November 17th, 2025, Tier 1 redemptions detonate, igniting global currency revaluation with Iraq's $100 billion reserves, unlocking liquidity waves across BRICS-aligned nations. Redemption centers go live in 3 U.S. states, quietly processing a QD/VND exchanges under white hat protocols. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, Trump Inner Circle executes final GCR stage, overlapping EBS rehearsals with QFS sync, ensuring unreachable military oversight. Friday, November 21st, 2025, Iraqi magazine exposes new dinar rates, coordinating with Starlink protected exchanges for Tier 4B Patriots. Sadani's new dinar rate announcement hits Iraqi media, confirming dinar revaluation and signaling BRICS gold integration for BND and Imper. Saturday, 22nd of November 2025, new Iraqi dinar rate anchors RV GCR launch under ISO 20022 compliance, forcing fiat systems into asset-backed parity. Swift expiration triggers full GCR rollout with military-protected redemption centers opening nationwide for dinar and dong holders. Global desks brace for FX liquidity shift as Asia and Europe tighten compliance, paving way for seamless asset-backed transitions. Monday, November 24th, 2025, Iraq compliance verified under IMF/BIS reports. Greenlighting dinar forex visibility and igniting prosperity fund distributions. Twos, November 25th, 2025. Tier 4B notifications deploy, granting Internet Group access to elevated rates, empowering global humanitarian projects with trillions in unlocked value. In December 2025, BRICS gold-backed system dominates, rejecting shotgun narratives for phased RV execution tied to commodity demand spikes. Wednesday, 10th of December 2025, BRICS alliance enforces one-tune currency parity, accelerating the dollarization and channeling seized cabal assets into sovereign wealth funds. January 2026, global wealth reallocation peaks, pegging currencies to sovereign memory rather than elite control, fulfilling Nara Jubilee mandates. F2, November 18th, 2025, Bruce the Big Call 667701866 pin 123456. In the last couple of days, we had timing for this saying Wednesday or Wed Thursday. We would receive our notifications on Saturday, the 22nd of November. The ISO 2022 would be activated. The RV and Intel person called right before this show and said we would get our notifications to set appointments for exchange after the ISO 2022 was activated and begin our exchanges on Monday or Tuesday. President Trump wants this to go before Thanksgiving, which is next Thursday, the 27th of November. R&R payments should be in your wallet at the Redemption Center. There were 31 currencies revaluing in this basket, and as far as Bruce knew, there would not be a second basket. G2S, November 18th, 2025, classified drop tier 1 ignited. The Great Reset is here. White hats just pulled the pin on the deep state's financial empire. FBI Director Kash Patel. Patriots, this isn't a drill. This is the red pill you've been praying for, leaked straight from the shadows of U.S. bank vaults and sovereign bunkers. Tier 1 redemptions, executed, locked, done. The cabal stranglehold on global wealth, shattered. Central banks, treasuries, and hidden intergovernmental players just settled trillions in silence. No fanfare, no leaks to the Mockingbee Bird media. Why? Because this is warfare, not a press conference. Tier 1 is the kill switch. Sovereign giants realigned monetary policy, locked in rates that will crush fiat delusions. Iraq's $100 million war chest, fueled by black gold and diversified, might just greenlit the dinar skyrocket. Dollar 3.40 used 15.20. A sleeper assassin backed by trade surpluses and GDP firestorms aligning value to raw output. Zimbabwe's dollar reborn as asset-backed bond tied to national gold and humanitarian nukes. No more fiat funny money. This tiered apocalypse flows like a patriot scalene. Tier 1 triggers Tier 2's humanitarian floods for rebuilding the republic. Tier 3 unleashes high rollers under ironclad vetting. Then Tier 4 BU the Dinar, Dong, Zim warriors cash in on the People's Uprising banks, are scrambling ledgers, rebalanced blockchain rails, hot-wired for secure flows, no chaos, no collapse, just calibrated justice. The deep state panics in the dark scams, the clock ticks, tiers unlock and sequence value, redistributes from elites to the awake. You're holding the blueprint to the new financial order. The great awakening wealth wave crashes now. H Global Financial System, Monday, 17th of November 2025. Intel briefing / Golden Age activated. President Trump signs executive tax cuts into law, November 16th, 2025. Monday, 17th of November 2025. Breaking economic alert. Trump's top Treasury and IRS official Scott Bessent drops economic nuclear bomb and the establishment is shaking. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Breaking historic move to Sandus calls for abolishing property taxes for homeowners. It's not yours if they can take it. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Boom power to the people. Trump send the money back to the people. New health care plan declared war on insurance giants. November 18th, 2025, Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, Fletch 170. X. This is why Trump is fighting for us. Insurance is a scam. This proves it. Restored Republic. Thursday, November 6, 2025, Scott Brunswick. GMO is overflowing. New high-security facilities in northern Canada, Greenland, and remote island zones are being outfitted with electromagnetic shielding and drone exclusion perimeters. Many detainees are now held in underground transit hubs beneath major bases where they undergo financial and intelligence debriefs. The data from these interrogations, banking trails, asset maps, global networks is being compiled by quantum forensic systems to feed upcoming tribunal sessions. Meanwhile, the quantum financial system is advancing in stealth. In Singapore and Tokyo, hidden banking nodes are now live, mirroring transactional flows through encrypted microtests. Each network interruption on legacy systems signals another handover to QFS control. Gold reserves are being relocated under armed escort through remote routes, while dormant vaults tied to the old monetary cabal are being drained. The slow technical outages seen in central banks are not errors, they are controlled disconnections. The current government is not reopening. What's coming next is something entirely new, the new republic. This isn't just a political shift. It's a foundational transformation. The old system has run its course, and the structures built on corruption, deception, and control are being dismantled piece by piece. When the new republic emerges, it will operate under truth, transparency, and constitutional law for the people, by the people. Be patient and prayerful. The transition is in motion, and God's timing is perfect. Keep in mind, there are a lot of key people gathered in Houston, Texas right now. And what's in Houston, Texas, you might ask? The Central Bank of Iraq. That should tell you everything you need to know. Major things are unfolding behind the scenes. Stay grounded, prayerful, and ready. Enough said. J. Monday, November 17th, 2025. Situation update by Benjamin Falford. Emergency transmission. Multiple high-level sources confirm. In the past 24 hours, the Gnostic Illuminati Grandmaster, in direct coordination with Red Dragon family elders and dissident Mossad Sanhedrin-level assets, has delivered the final irrevocable death sentence to the remaining core of the Khazarian Mafia satanic cabal. At 3:17 GMT, Red Dragon orbital kinetic strike platforms neutralized three previously undisclosed Khazarian Mafia geostationary satellites over the Indian Ocean that were scheduled to initiate a staged alien invasion project Bluebeam broadcast beginning the 23rd of November. The satellites were vaporized in complete radio silence. Western media has been ordered to report the explosions as space debris re-entries. In Australia, white hat elements inside Pine Gap executed Operation Iron Boomerang, collapsing two interconnected dumps under the Simpson Desert with low-yield tactical plasma charges. The facilities were the primary Southern Hemisphere child trafficking routing hubs for the Satanic Cabal's Oceania depopulation agenda. Surviving technicians who attempted to flee in vital craft were intercepted and eliminated by Red Dragon aerial hunter-killer teams. Vatican P3 Freemason sources in Rome confirmed that the entity pretending to be Pope Francis suffered a catastrophic malfunction during a closed-door ritual in the Castel Gandolfo underground temple at 1944 local time. The body double's facial servo motors locked while attempting the blood-wrinking portion of a Ninth Circle ceremony. On-site cardinals immediately triggered the self-destruct sequence. A new Francis 4.00 clone is already being fast-grown in the Brussels duplication facility, but the 72-hour activation window has been missed. The Gnostic Illuminati Grandmaster has issued a non-negotiable 96-hour ultimatum directly to the Octagon Group in Interlaken permanently and verifiably dismantle the Harper in Trosa, Svalbard, and Puerto Rico, or face immediate kinetic decapitation of the entire Swiss base leadership council. Red Dragon emissaries have made it clear that any attempt to stage a fake Antichrist revelation in Jerusalem as a distraction will trigger the instantaneous public release of the complete 65,000 named global pedophile blackmail ledger. Pentagon White Hat generals report that rogue CIA elements attempted to trigger a limited nuclear exchange in the Persian Gulf by firing two submarine-launched cruise missiles at the Iranian coastal city of Bukhar. Both missiles were intercepted and destroyed in flight by Russian S-500 batteries operating in international waters under civilian contractor cover. Asian secret societies have now moved to condition black. All remaining Khazarian Mafia financial transfer nodes in Dubai, Doha, and Singapore have been frozen by quantum-level overrides. The Satanic Cabal has less than 40 hours of liquid currency left before total systemic collapse. The Satanic House of Cards is collapsing in real time. 17th of November 2025. Bombshell. New claims from Barack Obama reignite birth certificate scandal. Kenyan origins document surfaces. Globalist cover-up back in the spotlight. Monday, 17th of November 2025. Voices of the people. They used U.S. and left us to rot. Daniel's testimony from Pensacola, November 2025. Breaking overnight intel drop. Total collapse of the narrative. Trump strikes hard. DDS goes clinical. Sharia courts rule in Texas. And DEI invades homes. Intel drops November 17th, 2025. For November 2025, explosive Trump in behind-the-scenes talks with Democrats to drain Obamacare and give the money to the people. November 17th, 2025. November 2025. Breaking new warning from Edward Snowden. His chilling prediction is unfolding in real time, and the West is next. Edward Snowden's terrifying warning is now unfolding in real time. China built the blueprint. Western governments are importing it. AI surveillance, social scoring, and digital IDs are already here. Resist before it's too late. This is not a drill. This is not speculation. This is a verified digital war plan. And Snowden saw it coming before anyone else dared speak it aloud. What China built is exactly what Western governments are quietly preparing for. That's not a theory. That's a confirmed pattern. And Edward Snowden just lit it up for the entire world to see. The worst part, it's already here. The surveillance state, no longer a hypothetical. Snowden's words cut like a blade. He's not whispering, he's sounding the alarm. And this time, the evidence is live, visible, and rapidly evolving across Western democracies. Every photo, every purchase, every message, every movement, all of it is being fed into algorithms that decide your future. This is social control disguised as innovation. And it didn't begin in Washington or Brussels, it began in Beijing. Monday, November 17th, 2025, Snowden DARPA documents, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden exposes HAARP's sinister global agenda of assassination and mind control. Monday, November 17th, 2025, Congress will open the Epstein file. The Democrats aren't trying to protect Epstein, they're trying to protect the system he served. A system that used surveillance and blackmail to manipulate elections, shape media narratives, and weaken national sovereignty. The same system that targeted Trump in 2016 tried to neutralize him in 2020 and failed when he returned in 2024. They know once these files are visible, the fallout will spread to Vatican archives. Soros-backed migration channels, offshore data shelters for tech giants, and behavioral engineering firms guiding Western elections. Trump isn't interested in spearing anyone. His mission is to dismantle the entire grid of hidden power built behind charities, think tanks, intelligence partnerships, and diplomatic immunity. The Epstein trap was designed to destroy Trump's movement. Now it is collapsing onto its creators. Tuesday's vote isn't just procedural, it's a trigger. When the files open, the world shifts. Monday, the 17th of November, 2025. Bombshell report. Top secret HAARP facilities and military bases around the globe uncovered. Edward Snowden unveils HAARP's sinister global agenda. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Obama Judge Boasberg blocked Trump admin CDL restrictions meant to prevent tragedies like the Florida crash. His ruling keeps 190,000 non-citizen CDL holders on U.S. roads. Another Obama judge undermines safety. Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, Mexico. President Trump has put drug lords and the cartel-bought government of Mexico on notice. We know every route. We know the addresses of every drug lord. We know their address, their front door. We know everything about every one of them. That's like a war. I've been talking to Mexico. They know how I stand. Let me just put it this way. I'm not happy with Mexico. Okay, don't get on Trump's bad side. The people around the world are awake, and the same will follow for all tyrannical governments connected to the Kabbalah cartels. Chris Wray did not want Americans to know there were plain-clothed FBI agents in the crowd on January 6th. We now know there were at least 275. That doesn't include other agencies. January 6th was a setup. Everyone involved must pay. P2S November 18th, 2025, Ukraine. Joe Rogan show goes over the unfiltered truth about who the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, really is. U.S. taxpayers paid $5 million from the CIA and NSA funneled through NOSs to get Zelensky elected, but it goes so much deeper. Here's the truth. And people know parts of this story, but they don't know it in its cleanest narrative. So he was a totally apolitical. He was an outsider to politics. Zero experience or interest in government or politics. He was a comedian and with no manifesto, no party ties. He does a TV show, a planned TV show called Servant of the People. And the main character in the show does a YouTube video that calls out oligarchs and corruption and eventually becomes popular and is drafted as a protest candidate and eventually becomes president. So Zelensky played on a TV show a person who becomes president by popular demand. In real life, the TV show is supported by an oligarch named Koisky who owned the TV channel. And Koisky did a huge nonstop promo on the TV show to make it the #1 show, primetime slots and ads everywhere and crossovers with the news and what have you. 2018, a year before the show goes off the air, Zelensky forms a political party called Servant of the People, the same title as the show. No press release, secretly done, and then he does another season of the show, and in April of 2019 he announces his actual candidacy on Instagram. He has no campaign, no rallies, no real platform. He skips the presidential debates others attended. He avoids press conferences, and the few that he did were in the beginning were really bad. And Koisky TV channel gave Zelensky's campaign endless airtime and favorable polls and went after his enemies. The U.S. intelligence agency, CIA, and NSA helped. U.S. spending $5 billion, by the way, on democracy campaigns in Ukraine funneled through NOSs. You said embeds advisors and his organization to help with the campaign on election day. Zelensky wins with 73% of the vote. Then the war happens with Russia and he declares martial law and he ends elections. There's supposed to be an election in 2024. That's what we get for our democracy money. And quite literally, he is an actor in a carefully designed television show. He is a construct like Epstein is a construct, meaning he's a created entity and it worked. That is Zelensky, American Hero. Q2S, November 18th, 2025, Fox News. The Mexico City protests are happening because their president, Claudia Sheinbaum, works for the cartel. A senator from Mexico, the president of Mexico, works for the cartels. She was funded by money from the cartels. It's not just the president. There are an entire group of Mexico politicians labeled the narco politicians. Mexico is a narco state. Mexicans are afraid of the alliance between the Mexican government and the cartels. The Morena political party is financed by the cartels. That's how they get elected. Once they get elected, the deal is for the Mexican government to then protect the cartels. The president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, doesn't want this information getting out. Mexicans and the politicians who are now paid off by the cartels want Donald Trump to help with the cartels. The Mexico senator exposing all this says she is now being threatened with prison for speaking out. The president has threatened me to proceed against me with criminal prosecution to get me out of the Senate and get me in jail just because I told you in this space. And now the assassination of Aruapan Mayor Carlos Manzo, a known cartel critic. The cartel runs the Mexican government. The latest video will be shown earlier at the official website ailyblog.com. Sincere thanks to all our audience. To continue watching videos without ads, you can subscribe via the Gumroad link below the description. If you want to watch the latest free videos, you can visit our dailyblog.com. If you continue to love and support us, you can donate to us via GiveZango or PayPal or Gumroad link below the description. God bless us all. November 25th, 2025, redemption centers open nationwide. Tier 4B notification. U.S., the internet group who hold foreign currencies and ZIM bonds will be sent out to set exchange redemption appointments. The military and Starlink satellite system will be protecting exchanges. The military alliance will be processing claims against deep state fraud while blocking elite escape routes and converting seized assets into medbed infrastructure. Royal family members who were detained in secure locations were expected to disclose centuries-old bloodline secrets. Thursday, November 27th, 2025, Thanksgiving, restored republic announcement after white hats secured economic sovereignty when 8 Democrats defected and ended shutdown assaults on the quantum financial system. On Friday, November 28, 2025, media muggles already indicted for propaganda crimes would have their Pura walks broadcast via decentralized restoring the 1776 constitutional governance, establishing the gold standard for currency, and initiating debt forgiveness nationwide. On Thursday, November 13th, 2025, quantum financial system rollout synchronization completed across U.S. departments, enabling full activation of the gold-backed quantum financial system and dismantling elite-controlled banking circuits. On Saturday, 15th of November 2025, the gold asset-backed RV currencies activated on the global BRIC Alliance quantum financial system, severing deep state control over global banking and initiating mass asset seizures from corrupt elites. Monday, November 17th, 2025, Texas Snake said he's hearing Monday or Tuesday out of Europe 2s. November 18, 2025, White Hats deploy EBS broadcasts. Worldwide, followed by 10 days of disclosure revealing suppressed evidence of Pizzagate networks. The Iraqi dinar leads the Ravel Zimit parody. Dong follows under BRICS Gold Integration 2's November 25, 2025 redemption centers open nationwide. Tier 4B notification. U.S. The internet group who hold foreign currencies and ZIM bonds will be sent out to set exchange redemption appointments. The military and Starlink satellite system will be protecting exchanges. Sunday, the 16th of November, 2025, Frank 26. Sadani will have an article in the Iraqi magazine on Friday, the 21st of November. He has to tell us the new rate. Before that, Saturday, the 22nd of November, is the ISO 2022. The rate has to be in before that. Monday, November 17th, 2025, Tier 1 detonated. The global reset is now in motion. Gitmo TV Tier 1 is no longer a rumor. It is confirmed. The first and most powerful layer of the global currency reset has been executed in silence as sovereign nations, central banks, and high monetary entities locked their rates and completed their redemptions behind closed doors. Nothing about this stage was public. Nothing was speculative. It was the ignition key of the entire reset. And now that it has fired, the rest of the architecture begins to move. Once Tier 1 locks in, the world shifts. This stage establishes the baseline rates that every tier above it must follow. These numbers are not predictions or projections. They are fixed benchmarks coded directly into the system. With the foundations secured, Tier 2 humanitarian structures begin aligning for release. Tier 3 high-net-worth pools move into position, and major banks quietly rebalance their ledgers to prepare for the next waves of liquidity. The entire design is deliberate. Liquidity rises in controlled stages, preventing market shock while allowing global revaluation to unfold with precision. And while the surface appears calm, the internal machinery is already active. Compliance units recalibrating protocols, international channels tightening security, and institutional platforms updating in real time. This is the quiet phase of a much larger event. Next comes the most anticipated stage, Tier 4B, the moment when private holders, individuals who have waited for years, finally step into the process. Iraq and Zimbabwe signaling green light wasn't random. It was the final confirmation that the sequence has begun and that Tier 1 completion has triggered everything that follows. The reset isn't approaching, it has already started. Global Financial System. On Monday, November 17th, 2025, the U.S. Mint will officially stop minting pennies. Today, the last penny will be minted. 1 penny costs the U.S. taxpayer 37 cents to mint. U.S. Mint lost $85 billion minting pennies in FY 2024 alone. Sunday, 16th of November 2025, Tier 1 detonated. Global currency revaluation in motion. Iraq and Zimbabwe signal green light as U.S. bank sources confirm Tier 1 redemption. Sunday, 16th of November 2025, Intel briefing / Golden Age activated. President Trump signs executive tax cuts into law November 16th, 2025. Sunday, 16th of November 2025, breaking report, Fed week ahead, a critical 5-day window for America's markets and liquidity outlook. Sunday, 16th of November 2025, Tier 1 detonated, global currency revaluation in motion. Iraq and Zimbabwe signal green light as U.S. bank sources confirm Tier 1 redemption. Sunday, 16th of November 2025, Intel briefing / Golden Age activated. President Trump signs executive tax cuts into law. 16.11 2025 F restored Republic on Thursday, 6th of November. The quantum financial system completed its override of the old SWIFT system. The fiat currency era ended behind the scenes. On Wednesday, November 12, 2025, President Trump, in the presence of top military leadership, signed the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, officially restoring the original 1776 Constitution and returning the world to the gold standard. Sunday, 16th of November 2025. Over the past 18 hours, 3 separate body doubles of top KM puppets were urgently extracted from underground facilities beneath Washington, D.C., Geneva, and Tel Aviv, after Pentagon white hat generals issued a 72-hour ultimatum: surrender the remaining children in the DUMBs or face immediate kinetic neutralization. Benjamin Falford. Sources inside the Pentagon say the order was personally signed by the same faction that took out the Denver and Brussels adrenochrome refineries last month. The body doubles, two of them visibly deteriorating from advanced cloning malfunctions, were reportedly screened. New intel from Alliance signal teams confirms that the Cabal's command network has lost more than 70% of its operational nodes in the last 12 hours. Their servers are offline, their back channels have gone dark. The system that once controlled governments is collapsing like wet paper. Multiple satellites once used for global surveillance and signal manipulation have been seized by Space Force and switched into quantum handshake mode. The entire atmospheric frequency grid is being purged of their control signals. What they used to enslave the planet is now being turned against them. High-value targets across Europe, the United States, and the Middle East are attempting to escape through old intelligence routes. Every one of them is being tracked by the quantum network that logs their movements in real time. Since that moment, the target shifted toward the people constructing the restoration plan. Heggs, Rubio, Nome, Driscoll, Phelan, all have now been relocated under direct military control after verified surveillance attempts dampened entry points and warning operations consistent with foreign-style intimidation tactics. Inside the system, the classification has already changed to what authorities call strategic threat reduction, a level assigned only when national actors are marked for physical removal. The kill teams operate through front companies embedded in tech and logistics hubs in blue districts, rotating assignments every few days, often traveling under NGO credentials. Most leave no official record behind. Some are former special forces with access to dormant government systems. At least 5 assassination attempts were blocked in the past, and on 90 days, each one structured with layered support and long-term planning. These are not chaotic street attacks. They are coordinated missions designed to remove individuals critical to the transition. While legacy media suppresses everything under old directives, Trump's team has rerouted all communications to isolated fibers, air-gap devices, and Interson courier systems. Financial structures tied to globalist institutions are collapsing at the same time, accelerating the push for eliminations as old power centers attempt to hide assets and erase trails before the switch in systems becomes irreversible. Their remaining enforcers are now focused on eliminating those who oversee QFS implementation, legal audits, recovery channels, and classified infrastructure operations. The objective is simple: delay, sabotage, and force Trump's alliance into a defensive posture. While foreign partners attempt to regroup, this was never going to be resolved through elections. These networks never operated within legal limits. They built international kill structures inside government programs and still control certain sleeper channels inside American cities. This is why the bases are full, why movement is restricted, why communications are shielded. The people being hunted are not corrupt elites or political puppets. They are the ones rebuilding the system, recovering stolen wealth, exposing underground networks, and preparing tribunals. They are the ones changing the entire order. That is why they are being targeted. The rest of the country only sees the silence. The real battle is happening out of sight inside the secured quarters, where this transformation is being protected day and night. As Monday, November 17th, 2025, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Director Joseph Bedlow announces widespread immigration fraud of Somalia immigrants in Minneapolis fraud was found in nearly 50% of all cases. Blatant marriage fraud like Representative Ilhan Omar visa overstays. Forged documents, H-1B visa abuse and fraud, F-1 visas abuse and fraud, people claiming to work at businesses that can't be found, many other discrepancies. Officers identified an alien who had overstayed his visa waiver, who was the son of a known or suspected terrorist on the no-fly list. We found troubling patterns with the Uniting for Ukraine program that should have raised serious concerns under other administrations, such as an individual filing to sponsor more than 100 aliens and organizations sponsoring hundreds. We are continuing to investigate these cases. Multiple illegal immigrants in marriage fraud cases were found to have multiple wives in multiple countries. In another, an individual admitted to obtaining a fake death certificate in Kenya for just $100 to prove he was no longer married. In reality, his wife is alive, living here in Minneapolis, and is the mother of 5 of his children. And incidentally, he has another wife living in Sweden with whom he has an additional 3 children. Voter fraud. Monday, November 17th, 2025, 2 minutes of surveillance footage they hoped you'd never see. Conspiracy Day, November 3rd to 4th, 2020. Detroit, Michigan, DCF Center, Emergency Broadcast System. Roughly 7 hours after polls closed, security cameras capture something while the city-registered minivan pulls up, and out step Jocelyn Benson and Dana unloading boxes labeled for CCP Biden's. Gretchen Whitbag is behind the wheel. At 3:53 a.m., Whitmer leaves the building at 4:30 a.m. She comes back, and Benson and Nestle Hall in another round of those same boxes. Then look at the numbers. They don't want you thinking about 2020. Turnout 155-589-85-2024. Turnout 140A306A8751522. 110 voters vanished. Mail-in ballots flipped the country and bar, and Ray looked the other way instead of blowing the whistle. U. Monday, November 17th, 2025, billionaire real estate tycoon Rick Caruso is using his platform to raise awareness. The Pacific Palisades fire happened because of a cover-up in Los Angeles by Democrats. Emergency broadcast channel Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass need to be held criminally accountable. I hope more people start talking about the cover-up on the fire in the Palisades, shows his newspaper in the LA Times yesterday's edition. There it is, headline: Fire Crews Palisades Concerns Hidden. What the article talks about is the firefighters were concerned about leaving the original blaze that was put out on January 2nd because they knew it wasn't completely out, and they told their superiors they shouldn't leave the site on January 2nd and but they were ordered to go back to the station against the recommendation of the firefighters who were actually there and felt the ground, felt the roots, that they were still hot. And the title of the episode is right on schedule. Fed wants to delay cut. The economic shift is happening. Now, we've all seen the headlines that Deep State was in line with the Fed. They're all part of the same criminal syndicate. And they knew that the numbers were completely and utterly fake. They knew the economy was in a recession, heading for a depression. And when they handed this off to Trump, They thought Trump would take a very long time in building up the parallel economic system. I do believe the only thing that has been keeping us going into a depression was Trump's tariff system and the investments that he's bringing into this country and actually lowering the fuel price. Without that, I do believe what Biden said and what was happening during that period of time, yes, we would have gone into a depression. They would have used the excuse, look, the economy was strong, Trump destroyed it. That's what they were trying to do. This is why the Fed was holding steady and they didn't want to lower the rates. And like we said, right when the shutdown was happening, they were going to use the lack of data to say, we're not going to cut the rates. And that's exactly what Jerome Powell is doing right now. He is right on schedule saying, listen, you know what? We can't really lower the rates right now because we have not that much data. We don't really know what's going on with the economy, and we might have to hold off on this one. And they're doing this on purpose. But again, it's not going to work the way they think it's going to work. You have to remember Trump's system right now is shifting the entire economic system. And it's shifting it into his new system away from the central bank system. And every day that passes, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, which means the central bank has less and less time to try to destroy their own system, because really that's what they're trying to do. What do you think that announcement was during the pandemic back in March? You had Prince Charles at the time, you had Klaus Schwab at the time saying, hey, this is the perfect time for the Great Reset. Their entire plan was to bring down the old system and try to restart the new system. But again, with Trump building this parallel economic system, they're actually running out of time, because what's happening with the parallel system, the economy is getting stronger and stronger and stronger every single day. And as Trump gives the people the dividend, not the stimulus, but the dividend, he's not creating new currency. He's not borrowing it from the Federal Reserve. This is money coming in from other countries. When he gives that money to the people are going to be with him. And this is going to be a major, major problem for the deep state, the central bankers, because when you have the people with you, the people who are feeling good, they see a lot of jobs opening up. They see fuel prices coming down. If you go to the supermarket, you see inflation. It's pretty much non-existent. And I do believe that with the meat costs right now, well, we have a monopoly right now. The meat packers, they are now controlling the prices. And I do believe this is why he made the deal with Argentina, because once again, they will supply the meat, they will pack the meat, and it's going to bypass the meat packers, which means you're going to have competition. And what happens when you have competition? It drives down the prices. And I do believe this is the first method that he is using to attack the monopoly of meat packers. And remember, the ranchers, they're getting screwed every step of the way because of this monopoly. And I do believe Trump is going to be breaking it all apart. But you know, something that's very interesting, and this is happening out in the UK, it looks like for the first time, the majority of British adults believe the generosity of the welfare system stops people from supporting themselves. And that is absolutely true. Not just true in the UK, but true worldwide. Now think about this. Think about what they just realized. Is this what the central bank wants? They want you dependent on their system. So this way you never ever go look for a job? Yes. They want everyone dependent on their system. It's much easier to control the people when you're dependent on their system, because they'll say, listen, if you want more of this, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to give up. This is what you have to do. So basically, the central bank system, they figured out a way to control the masses, not just to enslave them in their system, but actually control them. That's what they've been doing. And like we said from the very, very beginning, the central bank right now is using the excuse that they don't have the data to make a decision on the rate cut. Geiger Capital put this out and says BLS says it won't publish October jobs report. November jobs report rescheduled for December 16th. Third world data collection. The Fed is now flying blind for their meeting on December 10th. Then he follows us up with rate cut odds just collapse because Powell won't get the data until it's too late. So will the Fed use this excuse to say there are no rate cuts here? Now remember how many people are working for the Fed? 20-some thousand that have PhDs. How many economists, and actually they want to hire 3,000 more. They can't figure anything out. Really think about this for a second. I think a monkey on the street can actually figure this one out. There it is, headline, Fire Crews Palisades Concerns Hidden. What the article talks about is the firefighters were concerned about leaving the original blaze that was put out on January 2nd because they knew it wasn't completely out, and they told their superiors they shouldn't leave the site on January 2nd and dot, but they were ordered to go back to the station against the recommendation of the firefighters who were actually there and felt the ground, felt the roots that they were still hot. And the title of the episode is right on schedule. Fed wants to delay cut. The economic shift is happening. Now, we've all seen the headlines that they really don't do much. Actually, all they do is create currency. That's it. Period. The end. Yes, they mess a lot of things up, but they really don't do anything to help we the people. And I think this is what Trump has been saying. This is what he said during the Saudi investment conference. Well, we'll be talking about that in just a sec. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that Stephen Miller, he revealed a shocking statistics that 40% of rent-controlled housing in New York City is occupied by foreign-born population, which means that the foreigners that are coming into this country, they are given the rent-controlled apartments and are housing. And the American citizens, they have to pay for non-rent controlled apartments or houses, which actually drives the cost up. Actually, when you bring in illegals, like we've seen, it continually drives the cost of housing up. And once you start to deport the illegals, all of a sudden you're going to see salaries, wages go up. You're going to see rent go down. You're going to see housing go down. You're going to see the opposite. And the deep state, the central bankers, they have caused all of this. And you can see what Trump is doing. He's bringing in more and more investment into this country every single day. This is what he put out on Truth. It's 3 posts. It says, Jensen Huang, as I promised, production of Blackwell has started. AI invented in America, made in America, built for America and the world. Jensen Huang. After less than a year, we're now manufacturing the most advanced chips for AI here in the U.S. All of this started with President Trump wanting to reindustrialize the U.S. His tariffs were a pressing agent in making this possible. Once again, Jensen says, we are manufacturing America because of President Trump. Absolutely. So basically, what we're seeing right now is that manufacturing is happening, and more manufacturers are coming back to this country, and they'll continue to come back to this country. And when you look at the economy, you can see the economy is really taking off. Eric Dye put this out and set an incredible victory. The U.S. trade deficit under Trump plummets to a year low of 59.6 billion. The experts suffer another devastating blow, absolutely. And then when we look at the Atlanta Fed, well, the Atlanta Fed right now is projecting in the third quarter the GDP will be at 4.2%. A massive expansion. The economy is running hot. Think about that for a second. Go all the way back to when Biden gave Trump the economy. They thought it was going to implode, and all of a sudden Trump was able to turn this all around, and it's getting better and better. EJ Antonio, PhD, put this out and said Atlanta Fed, not only is GDP currently estimated to have grown 4.2% for the third quarter, but the gain is primarily driven by big increases in private spending and private investment, not government. That is very, very important, because what is Trump doing? He's now taking the jobs, taking the investments, taking the production, and moving it from the government and moving it to the private sector. And once again, the government, by adding all these jobs, really doesn't do much. Even the production in government is not really doing much for this economy, because again, how do they do all of this? They have to borrow currency from the Federal Reserve. And if you're borrowing currency from the Federal Reserve, you're adding to the debt. People have to pay more taxes. Are you really helping the economy? No. In the long run, you're hurting it. And I do believe this is why Trump, when he was speaking at the Saudi Investment Forum, he actually made fun of the Fed, saying it's the easiest job in the world. You play golf for 28, 29 days. You just speak in front of a couple people, and that's it. Take a listen to what he said here. I love the Fed job. To me, it's the easiest job in the world. You play golf for 28, 29 days, then you go and make a little speech, tell everybody, in the case of the current guy, the wrong information because he has no clue. But if you have good instincts, it's all based on instincts. I see they want to hire 3,000 economists, 3,000 to report to the Fed chairman. What are they going to do? Take all this information. 3,000 economists. That's why they're spending $4 billion on renovating a building that should have cost 25 million bucks to do. So he's letting everyone know, with all these people the Fed have, all the 3,000 economists that they want to have, they really don't do much. And he's absolutely right, because really all the Fed is the central bank system. All they do is create currency. They really have no involvement in the creation of jobs. They really have no involvement in keeping inflation down, because their system is designed to create inflation, and they shouldn't be in control of lowering or raising the rates whatsoever. The market should decide what the rate should be. So what does the central bank actually do? Do you really need 20,000 something people or 3,000 economists add on top of that number? Do you really need them? No, you really don't. And this is why the first two were removed from this country, and we're about to see the third one removed from this country, because once again, they do not benefit the people of this country. It doesn't benefit the country as a whole. And this is why our founding fathers, from the very, very beginning, this is why they didn't put this in the Constitution. If they thought the private central bank system was the best thing ever, they would have put it in the Constitution. They specifically said the people will coin their own money. They didn't say, hey, the people will borrow their currency. And at the time, what was money? Gold and silver. Remember, they just fought a revolutionary war. They were fighting against the British government. The king, where did the king get his money? From a private Western central bank system. And this has happened over many, many years with many, many different countries. The United States is not the first one, but at right now it might be the last one. And I do believe that with everything that Trump is doing right now, he's building the economy up so strong because he's competing with a system that doesn't work. So when you have a system that works and you're building it up and you're competing with a system that doesn't work, which system do you think is going to win? And eventually what's going to happen, it's going to become so powerful, the central bankers will not be able to stop it. And this is why yesterday when we mentioned there was 150 years of data showing that tariffs do not actually create inflation. It actually decreases inflation. The central bank is the cause of the inflation. But again, they hid this information from everyone because, again, they didn't want people to know this because you would then say, why do we have the central bank if you're causing all this inflation? And you remember the tariff system and the central bank system, they really don't work well together. And in the end, you really don't need the central bank if you have a tariff system. And this is what the central bankers are most afraid of. Treasury Secretary Scott Passon put this out and said Trump has driven $20 trillion in new investments so far, the largest in American history. By comparison, Biden administration brought in only $1 trillion over a 4-year period. President Trump is laying the foundation for a golden age economy with investment returning to the United States in record amounts. And think about it, Trump is continually bringing in all this money because you have to remember the deep state, the central bankers, they've been sending the money out of this country for a very long time. If you really think about this and you step back and take a look, all these countries that were telling you like, look, we're giving free health insurance to our people. Socialism is great. You know why it's fantastic? Because guess who was paying for it all? We the people in this country. And now when you start to look at countries where Trump made deals with tariffs, where they don't have the upper hand anymore, they're struggling right now. They're struggling to make ends meet. Just look at Germany right now. Actually, you're going to see the whole EU. They're going to have major, major problems. Same thing with Canada because they were dependent on the US to run their socialist systems. And now they have to do this on their own, which they won't be able to do because it doesn't work. And this is what the people of these countries are going to start to see. Actually, they're already starting to see it in Germany. They don't even have the funds to pay for all of this, and they're telling the people, listen, you might have to give up a couple of things. So you're starting to see the entire economic system shift, not just in this country, but worldwide. And this is what the central bankers do not want to happen, and they will try to stop it every step of the way. But I think in the end, no matter what they do, the people that are experiencing the new economic system, the people that are experiencing getting the dividend, the people that are experiencing getting the higher paying jobs, the people that are experiencing lower fuel costs, when they're experiencing all of this, it doesn't matter what the fake news says. It doesn't matter what the economists say. It doesn't matter what the Fed says. It doesn't matter what the DU say. When people are experiencing a better way of life, that's all you need. And the people, they'll get it. just like they got it during Biden's time. Yeah, the fake news, the D's, the economists were telling you that everything was great, but the people went to the supermarket and said, you know, this is awful. What is going on here? Why can't I find a job? We were in a recession. And I do believe when all's said and done, we're going to look back in time and say, yeah, the recession started during the Biden administration. They tried to pass the recession off to Trump, but Trump countered it all with his new parallel economic system.